Yeah, I do need to go back and work out what FPS meant. See, I'm not sure if I have or not, but it doesn't matter because I'll do it this week and I'll work it out.
Well, I have all that too last week.
So, shall we begin?
I think it'd be rude not to.
The latest episode of Eternal Lives. Last week, you all committed murder.
Well, you all.
Has this sheet been updated?
I don't know, has it?
I don't know, because I've lost some text.
I don't think so. I don't think I've updated it lately.
Yeah, mine's the same as it was last week because I'd spent the experience.
I've got all your notes and stuff are in there as far as I can see.
Oh, invalid password. Why is it doing that? Don't say it out loud. Let me mute you. Yeah. No, I haven't. No, I've got my dots, but it's not showing up on the screen anyway. But caps lock is a bitch.
No. If you open it by pressing, if I opened it by pressing C, it didn't update.
Ah.
Because what I'd done under notes and contacts, etc., I'd kept track of all my experience at the top of the thing, and that wasn't there. So that C must have bring back the blank one.
Right.
From way back when.
I guess don't use the blank one then. Don't use C.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never did.
Okay, so as I was saying, last session, you committed murder.
We didn't.
Probably closer to the mark.
No, I'd like to get gentle passing into the other world.
He committed crimes that deserved capital punishment, so.
And his taste of music sucked.
You took justice and law into your own hands and carried out.
I'm fine with that.
Well, he kind of admitted that
he hired somebody to kill us,
and that the law was literally corrupt. That he paid them, so nothing would have ever happened.
Yeah, but he hired people to kill us, so you know, hey ho, you read what you sow.
Yeah, justice was served.
Okay, well, I will remember that later.
Sorry, I'm going to go insane before you can use it against us.
It's true.
It's
funny because it is true.
I think I'm beginning to think I'm not doing a good job, actually, of making you all go insane.
We keep making our stability tests. That's all it is.
Yeah, I don't think I'm doing a good enough job. So, a friend of mine who's running Massive Neolithic was telling me the other day that every single one of his players have at least 3 insanities. One of them collects insanities as a hobby now.
that's Sontar.
One of them is on his way to becoming some kind of thing from beyond the stars. Another one is turning into something else. And they're only halfway through the campaign.
I want to get a mouth in my belly so I can have oysters by both ends.
I don't think I'm doing a good enough job. Okay, so last week you Okay, so a few things that are quite important, I think, just to recap on last week. Last week we spent very much understanding Daniel Lohman, who he is, where he fits into everything. Whilst his name was on the EBA, a couple of the EBA letters and things that you found in various places, you wanted to figure out, where he fitted in the grand scheme of things in regards to the Echevarian cult and Trammel today. Yes, so you did have a conversation with him. He talked about being a chief agent of Savitri Serkan, who organises these things called death matches in the Death Pits, underground location in Bangkok, known as the Labyrinth. He did explain to you that the Labyrinth was inside a slum warren of aging buildings in a bad part of town that connect to each other via back doors, strange passages, roofed over courtyards, underground tunnels, and a bunch of other strange and mysterious ways of moving from point A to point B. He admitted that the local criminal operation involved the manufacture and sale of nectar. It was a retail operation. Sole point of sale is the underground fight. And I believe he told you that a man named Tharwi Udom is in charge of the death fights, the production and sale of nectar. And he reports, or reported, to Lohman. What you didn't get was an actual location of the fight from him. The other thing, so Lohman told you that Savitri had connections with others who have nectar distribution operations in other parts of the world. You discovered that he liked the Maltese version the best and generally didn't touch the Bangkok version. So as far as you've got 3 different vials of liquid, if you remember. You've got an opaque one, you've got a blue square one, and a standard one. I think the opaque one has the local Siamese label on it for the local manufacturer. The other 2, I think you've got, one is from Los Angeles and one is from Malta.
That's right. Yeah, opaque local, clear glass is USA, and the bluish bottle is from Malta.
Yeah. Lohman was kind of like the fixer, the go-getter, the grifter, the guy who paid people off to look the other way. He delivered it to Fao Bantao, who was then responsible from the government side of things to distribute the money to the relevant peoples to make sure that the operation runs as smoothly as possible. He had no interest or clue to whatever his superiors believed in around deities, religion, and gods. He had no idea how the nectar is made.
And he was sleeping with Salvatore, wasn't he? Initially.
And you believe at some point in his past he had an intimate sexual relationship with Savitri. He also admitted to arranging for people to come and bump you off in Savannah. And I think that tipped Ralph over the edge.
It wasn't so much that, it's that beyond that point as well, he couldn't live. because he knew
Yeah.
we were. So
You fed him the Bangkok nectar, didn't you?
yes,
He got violent.
he did, and he ended up dead.
Yes.
To be fair, I think we gave him everything, didn't we?
You gave him a bit of everything, yeah. Yeah. So he had a massive hard-on whilst being violent. He wanted to both bash your head in against the wall and fuck your brains out, if I remember rightly.
Yes, just a regular Saturday night.
Just a regular Saturday night in Newcastle, maybe, allegedly. We will begin this evening then with you outside back on the street, just opposite Loman's house, having left via the back door, sealing the house up as best you can again, and making your way out.
We didn't find anything on the property that would have given us clues as to where the fights were.
No.
Maps or anything like that.
No.
Easiest way to find out where the fights are is to go to normal Thai boxing fights over a couple of nights, get faces seen, and then just drop some hints whilst putting bets on that you're looking for something a little bit hairier, a little bit more violent, a little bit more bloodthirsty.
Yeah,
And then,
I think that's where I come into it, isn't it?
Yes.
There was also a couple of other things. Remember, when you followed Loman, there was obviously the guy at the government offices.
Yeah, he was paying off, wasn't he?
But also there was an individual that was on a street corner that was cowed by Loman and seemed to disappear quite quickly back into a shop.
Yeah.
And there was the two guys that came to visit him because he wasn't home.
And then there's the two guys, yes.
Have I got this written down right? It was like Foul Bastos.
Bantao.
Bantao, sorry. Oh, it's a W, sorry.
W, yeah. So, the afternoon, as they say, is young. What do you wish to do?
I think let's go to that shop.
Which one? The one where
the one where he was harassing that bloke.
Yeah.
And then that way we can hopefully find the locale of the next fight, which hopefully will be tonight.
Do you think we should do that so close to murdering somebody?
Well, they don't.
I didn't really.
It's like natural causes the way we've left it. So
yeah.
I know, but what I'm thinking is if we ask him questions and then he mentions it to somebody else, it wouldn't take, a massive leap that three Westerners are asking questions and all of a sudden yon fella's also dead.
Well, to be fair,
as much as it looks like natural causes.
Yeah, to be fair, we'd never figure that out. I do think you're right. So maybe go back to the hotel. Or are there any libraries around here we could research?
No.
Maybe find some information about
maybe if you speak Thai. I don't know.
Yes. But did you want to find some more about this company that he ran here?
The Antiquities Company.
Yeah.
It's just a front to dish out money, really, isn't it? Pay people off.
Mm.
That is probably the most astute. Yeah.
Perfect way of doing it.
Or maybe spend a little time trying to find out where they're actually manufacturing this local drug.
Okay, so What do you want to do for the rest of today then? Do you want to try and investigate the drug? Do you want to try and find out where the fights might be? Do you want to go to Thai boxing? Do you want to go and tackle this street thug?
I think Thai boxing is probably a good idea. We'll get an idea of what's actually happening around here and take a look at who's watching the fighters in the more of a recruiting type of thing than just betting on them.
Be typical Americans going around a local place spending money.
Are there adverts out or flyers or something advertising the Thai boxing type things? Because it's going to be a local type of thing, I would think. Posters like these people are fighting, or this place is where you watch fights or something. Tourist attraction type thing.
Well, Alfred, you're the most streetwise person in the group, so it's probably not that difficult for you to. Yeah. It won't be long. Maybe an hour of wandering around the area before you start to find a couple of flyers that have an address not too far away from where you're currently located.
Wait, not saying this looks promising. It's
The fights are every night, starting at 6 p.m.
And what we know about two-ish?
You are? Yeah, it's just after 2. About 5 past 2 in the afternoon. So you've got a few hours yet before the first fight, before the night kicks off.
Any shops I go past, I'm going to buy a cheap bottle of let's go whiskey.
Okay.
And just a small bottle, not a big bottle, a small bottle. Because the intention is to splash up on myself and possibly Ralph and Alfred to make us smell like we're drunk.
Okay.
For later on tonight.
So, one thing you notice is there is a huge shortage of whiskey. What few bottles you can find will be in the hundreds of dollars in value.
Whatever cheap and nasty local beverage there is that smells.
However, there is a significant amount of Mekong spirit. It's a 35-degree rum. It's not. Hold on. It's not called Mekong at this point. It didn't take that name on until the 1940s. But it is a brown spirit.
Yep, that will do.
And you can pick those up for a few baht local currency, no problem.
Brilliant. So let's get lunch or afternoon snacks. Fortify ourselves and go check out the location where this fight's going to be.
Okay. You're just going to literally while away the afternoon the rest of the afternoon, watching the local scenery go by, and then head out to one of these fights in the evening.
Our clothing, does it stand out at all?
Yeah, you stand out as Westerners.
Yeah.
Your clothing isn't going to help you. You can change your clothing as much as you want. You stand out as Westerners.
Yeah.
Maybe an idea to get some local clothing though, because at a distance, if we are covered or it's dark, it might be easy to blend. But also, it's fucking hot.
It
Yeah.
is hot.
So it may be better to get into some local. So that may be a thing to do in the
Yep.
afternoon, actually.
Get something breathable.
Yes.
Even in local clothing, Alfred still stands out a little bit.
Oh yeah.
I'd probably stand out less than the other two.
Actually, I was going to say no. You'd stand out less than the others. Yeah.
I think we'd all stand out in different ways.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
But that's not the point. It doesn't matter if we stand out, really.
I can imagine
Otherwise-
one of you is a bit like the character in, is it Indiana Jones, the third film, where Indy's describing how he blends in and he's hard to find, and it's just and then they keep cutting to the guy walking around with a map in his hand.
Yes. Oh, the English guy.
Yeah, the English guy.
Yes.
That's kinda
He'll
how I'm
blend in.
picturing
He'll become
Treat them.
native. Yeah. Hello there. Can you tell me the way to?
Exactly. Well, you can get some local clothing. It is actually a good idea in terms of allowing you to cool down. The downside to the local clothing compared to your suit jackets that you would normally wear, hard for you to conceal a pistol.
Yeah, I was going to say, do we see people walking around armed? Like blades?
Well, blades for definite. Blades, yes. Pistols, it's harder to see. They're not necessarily banned, but they're not necessarily on open display either.
I'll carry a blade around, but I won't bother with my pistol.
Okay. And you spend a few dollars buying your Mekon Brown Spirit, your local clothing. Good afternoon, sort of high tea ceremony. Gets around to 6 o'clock. You decide to go, heading towards one of these Thai boxing places.
Before we go, I want to scoot by the hotel.
Yep.
Pick up my saber.
Your saber.
My saber, pop it in my belt. Is that something I would carry around, or?
I'm going to take a pistol, but it's going to be in like a satchel.
Well, I was going to take a pistol as well, but I thought my saber on my hip would be allowed, but maybe not.
Another reason we probably stand out as well is we're probably about 6 inches taller than everybody else.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, see, my blade's a bayonet and a knife, so I haven't got a sword.
I've got a knife in my boot, but I thought having a saber on my hilt. I mean, if it stands out too much, I won't.
Yeah. Machete type size might actually be all right, but saber, I would guess, is going to be a bit long.
See, I was thinking of Arabic more than Bangkok.
Yeah. I'm hoping if it comes to that type of thing, I'm going to disarm somebody and use theirs. That's what I'm hoping. It's not going to happen.
Oh no,
but
I'm going to take my pistol.
yeah, I'm not taking a pistol.
You know those 8 points that I've got in fleeing? That's what I'm going to use.
I only got 2 in that. As long as I've got more than Medi, then that's okay.
You
you
got 2 fleeing.
You just need to be faster than the slowest runner, don't you?
Yeah, I've got athletics as well, but I'm looking at the flee skill.
Do you know what I've got in fleeing? 2 big fat ladies.
8?
No, 0 and a 0.
Ah,
I'm going to say pistols are probably commonplace. Knives, machetes, commonplace. A saber is not common.
In which case, I'll just take my pistol. I've got I've already got my knife in my boot.
Yeah.
yeah. If pistols are common, I'll take a pistol. But
Yeah, they're moderately common. You know, I can't actually find anything to tell me whether it was a done thing or not. But you know, when you look at all the movies and stuff from that kind of depicting that kind of time, they do seem to be armed. So
yeah.
I'm sure machetes and hatchets and cleavers and carvers were all things that people grabbed hold of when
So,
they needed.
a bit like Glasgow.
A bit like Glasgow on a Friday night, yeah. Just think Big Trouble in Little Bangkok, China.
Yes.
The fight takes place in I was going to say a seedy building. It's probably a bad way of describing it. It's certainly a poor kind of warehouse type place.
I was picturing a warehouse in my head.
Yeah. Slightly off the beaten track, but not so far off the beaten track that there isn't plenty of people nearby, and certainly not undercover. I mean, there's flyers and stuff advertising it, and it's very much a well-controlled event. There are plenty of people spectating. Mostly there would be, males. Many of them appear to be of the lower working classes rather than the higher classes. The fights themselves are put on inside a well-defined ring with a sort of a referee that doesn't get into the ring, but he's sort of on the outside, calling the hit, and it seems to be well controlled in the sense of it's not a fight to the death, but injuries will happen. People will break bones. People will get knocked unconscious. It's either 3 points or knocked unconscious, whichever comes first. And there is definitely a sense of, there's a lot of people there are drinking, and a lot of people are smoking. And there's also here and there the smell of opium being consumed.
I would have given everybody a bit of cash to spend on bets, so we can blend in.
Okay. See, if this was, let's have a look. We don't have luck in this. The night, actually, it's actually quite. From Ralph's perspective, I don't know, but both Joseph and Alfred will actually get into this. This is interesting. It's certainly your sense of adventure, Joseph. You're quite carried away, and before you know it, you're betting on every
bout.
Yeah, on every bout.
Coming back.
Let's just have a look.
One minute.
I might try to say.
Right.
Maybe not.
You have 4 languages, don't you? I guess that technically means you speak 4 languages. Oh, he's gone.
Yeah, he's still there.
Sorry, I was just going upstairs. So you call my name. Yes, I speak 4 languages: Hebrew, Greek, German, and Latin.
Okay. And do you learn a language
Per point, I think it is.
per level of language?
Yeah, I think it is.
I thought it was a bit different. Let me check something.
That actually looks pronounceable.
Yeah. Question mark, question mark, question mark.
Yeah, so for each point in language, you can speak one language other than your native tongue.
What's that, sorry?
Saying to Soren, I've just got the final book 3 of the official Coriolis campaign, Mercy of the Icons, and it's a phenomenal campaign. There's some bits in it where you just think you can't do that, you can't do it, but you just do.
Right, I'm
Brilliant.
going to Google this.
And so I was just saying, it's probably a campaign I'd love to run for the clan. I said then that's when I said you'd probably play anything thrown at you.
That's pretty much true. Yep.
And Coriolis is a simple system. It's based on the same. Have you played Aliens? The Free League version, the latest version.
No.
Okay, because it's based on the same system. It's just buckets of D6. It's not Shadowrun size.
Oh,
but
it's just like the old Star Wars.
yeah, you just roll 6 and you're looking for 6s to succeed.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, it's a pretty damn good system. And the first book in the campaign's pretty good. Sorentar had his brains blown out. Took his head out the hatch of his crawler, and a sniper took his head off.
That's the
And
way to go.
The group still talk about it, you know. They keep saying mind the bloodstains because the hatch has got a little bit of darkened blood stain around it.
That little browning on the metal. Yes.
Exactly.
Epic moment.
Yep.
That was a campaign-defining moment.
That's like taking your helmet off to look over the edge.
And then Sorentar did a first, didn't you, where you actually then brought another character in that actually did the eulogy and ceremony.
Yep, carried out the ceremony.
Oh, Chaplain.
That's really cool. Yeah, it's a good little campaign actually, and again, it's one of those systems that has a quite an evocative background, quite an evocative history around the work, the setting and stuff. So, yeah.
Send me a link to it if you don't mind.
It's something that it's something that could be really delved into.
Yeah.
And I think you'd get a proper Babylon 5 expanse kind of vibe out of it. You know, if you went into the politics and the religion side of it, full on.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. B5 is one of my, beat Star Trek all day long.
Oh, Babylon 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, best TV show out there.
Oh God, yeah.
I've lost count how many times I've watched the whole series.
There you go. I've just posted it in the D&D chat in Discord.
Fantastic.
What did I miss?
So just saying, I got. Oh.
No, you haven't.
If you can see this.
Oh, Coriolis. I've heard of it.
So I got there it is. That's the Wake of the Icons. That's book 3. So it's a three-part campaign, and as Sorental just said, you can very easily get Babylon 5 vibes from it. There are factions that fit very easily with the Vorlons. There are factions that fit very well with the Shadows.
Right.
And
I thought just the political side of it, and the because Babylon 5 had the big religious side of it as well.
Yeah.
Also the expanse in how that is, that's brought across. Again, that's got a lot of the political intrigue in the background and Machiavellian schemes and all that bullshit going on.
Yeah, it's great, and it lends itself to some really good role playing when you get into it and you start, digging into it.
The Young Orphans were one of the bigger things from that campaign, I remember.
Yeah, well, they're still on the ship.
Good.
Atash still looks after them. Still wind up Uncle Seymour.
I hope they're earning the keep by now.
You've been picking up waifs and strafes.
Well, yeah, you meet three little kids that try and rob you blind in one of the plazas on the station, and the group took them in.
Yeah, I adopted them.
That's a good call.
It's great. And they become a bit of a hindrance. So now you're in firefights and in space, you're like, I've got 3 orphans. I've got 3 young children on the ship. I can't die. But they had to deal with the death of Uncle whatever. I forgot his name now.
Tahir.
Uncle Tahir.
Which is always a problem when people go, I'm moving to here. And it's like, no, you're not.
No. Leave me alone.
Yeah. It's good. It's a good system. Very, very good system. Very easy to run, very easy to play, but very evocative. I was at a silly little game convention last weekend, and I ran a 3-hour intro game called Dying Ship. I ran that, and actually, you can see people get into it once they understand the system. All of a sudden, they get into it, and they're just role playing amongst themselves. And as the tension builds, because there is horror in it, as the tension builds, you can see the group around the table. The tension is building, and it's very, very good.
That sounds awesome.
You never know. One day I'll run it. My the game that I run for my Wednesday group, we've put that back on hold now. We're going back to Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, but that game weaves the campaign in with something else that I loosely called the 7 Statues of the Dancer. And the group now hates any reference. So the dancer is one of the deities, hates any reference to the dancer, and they've just found another place with another statue of the dancer, and they're just like, I really don't like this anymore. This is just, and every time they do it, something scary and horrific jumps out and tries to eat them. They just don't like it. But it's cool. It's cool stuff. Okay, let us go back to this. So, rest of the afternoon. Well, it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon now. You've wandered around the district. As I say, I think maybe you dropped out when I was saying there's a mixture of, knick-knacky shops, food shops, clothing shops, both traditional Thai clothing as well as more Western influenced clothing. There are gun shops, there are weapon shops, there are shops dedicated to the gods, little shrines and that kind of stuff, tea places, restaurants. It's just a typical gamut of kind of shops that you find in this area.
And we've got our little parcel as well, haven't we? So
Indeed.
I think that resisting the urge to buy some local knick-knack, head back to the hotel and get ready for tonight. So what day are we? Tuesday, aren't we? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Well,
Another day.
yeah, you go back to the hotel. You have another good evening. Food is good, drink is good. The nectar is awesome.
Not touching that with a barge pole.
Ralph wakes up with a black eye and Alfred wakes up with a funny walk.
Yeah. And Joseph just wakes up with a big smile on his face.
Yes.
So, do you want to do anything specific during the day on the Wednesday, or shall we go straight to the action?
I think we should still go back to Daniel's place and just do the old knock on the door again and sit in the cafe for an hour.
Okay.
Let's see if he's been discovered. If there's any.
Yeah.
It just adds a bit more plausibility as we're still looking for him.
Yeah.
He hasn't, as far as you can tell, nobody's been to the house. Nobody's left the house. Again, you knock on the door. No response. Not that you're expecting any. Your lovely lady in the tea house is starting to get used to seeing you there. She's very apologetic and says she hasn't seen him in the last couple of days. Maybe he's out of town, which does happen occasionally.
I'll keep trying.
At this point, though, she does ask if she can take your names, and maybe she can, if she sees him, she can pass on your, if you're staying locally where you're staying, and maybe he'll come and find you.
I don't remember giving my name because we're here.
Don't give my name either.
Sorry?
Just because you're not giving your name, don't give my name.
No, I'm going to give I will give my name. My name is Joseph. Could you give Mr. Danielson, Mr. Mr. Lohman his my name?
You do a good trade in wax, do you?
I do. I'd like to put the wax on.
I'm going to take the wax off again.
And then take the wax on.
Yeah. Paint the fence.
I'm on the floor.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll give him my details and just say, we're staying at so and so. If he comes back, just give him our details.
Well,
unless there's another antiquities dealer around here.
No, not that she knows of.
In which case we'll have to wait for Mr. Lohman. Thank you very much.
Middle of the afternoon, you make your way back. Well, late afternoon, really. You make your way back to the Fragrant Honey Shop. Watching from the side street, you notice that every now and then people just casually walk down the alleyway. Some come back out, but there is a clear imbalance between the people that go down the alley and that come out of the alley. Probably 3-4 to 1. Then, as it gets closer to sundown, you get a more steady stream of people heading down that way.
I'll give Ralph and Alfred 100 back and a 20 back note.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's time we went in, and I'm assuming we've got our pistols and knives, haven't we, on us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
You
must
go
all
to the
go
door.
together. We're going to stand outside the way, so it will go together.
Might as well, yeah.
You go to the door. You knock on the door. There is one of those sliding grates in the door.
Lovely.
Something said in Thai. You don't respond.
I
Please
got
repeat in English.
in English. I have come for the exhibition, and I'm going to try to say Cha Ma Naga Sadeng Sinka.
Anything else you're doing?
I'm going to
Money.
give him 120 back.
Hand comes out, takes the money. Door opens.
And the money over as.
Yeah.
At the same time.
You come in. He will take you. No trouble.
No trouble.
Small lad. Tatty clothing. Sandals on his feet. Say something in Taiwanese. There's a response in Thai back. And he nods. And the little boy kind of grabs your sleeve, Joseph, and starts tugging. Immediately takes you through the door. There is a small, not too narrow, metal staircase heading down into the gloom. He takes you down the staircase. As you get to sort of 2 landings down, he steps off the staircase. The staircase continues to go down into the gloom, steps off the staircase, and directs you down a left-hand passageway. Then a right-hand passageway, then a left-hand passageway, then straight on, then right, then down, then along, then up, then left, then along, then up, then left. At one point, you go up again and find yourself crossing a covered rooftop of a building, then then left, then down again, then left along, up, and into a very large covered building. Looking around, you are in a well, for want of a better word, a very tatty, not well looked after warehouse, you think?
So
You've come
left,
Gone.
left, right, left, straight on, right, down.
Yeah.
I thought you were making notes, so I stopped, and then you started laughing. It's like, oh, you just lost it.
Yes, I did.
The point was, it will be very difficult for you
I
to
believe
find
so.
your way again
Yes.
without an escort.
Yeah.
Not impossible, but hard.
But very, yes. I broke down halfway through.
What you can see inside.
What you don't know is I've been marking the walls with a UV marker.
Unfortunately, we've got to bring a black light.
It's probably a 40-50 foot by 30-foot warehouse. There are some openings in the roof. You can see little slits of stars and things peeking through. In the very center of the warehouse that you're in is a pit, probably 10 feet below the level of the warehouse floor. Surrounding the outside of the pit are a bamboo fence interspersed with rather sharp and wicked-looking spikes that stick up and out towards the ground. The spikes in places bear signs of
Use.
well, use is the word that comes to mind. You can see blood stains on them, on cloth, that kind of thing. At the northern end of in fact, let me show you a map. It actually says not to use a map, but I'm gonna throw the map up just so you get a sense of it. At the northern end, so you've kind of come in.
Does it need light?
Yeah.
It says you do not have permission to access the scene or something. It's just black on my screen. There we go.
Oh, lovely.
Here at the northern end, there are 3 chairs. There are 2 or 3 men stood by those chairs. In the northeast corner, you can see what appears to be a set of stairs going below. The pit itself, as I say, is surrounded by bamboo. There is already probably 50 or 60 people crammed in here. There is a large fire pit, bonfire that's lit, giving off the majority of the light in the place. There are a few lights fastened to the posts in the upper part of the warehouse, but for the most purposes, it's quite dingy in here, and already there is smoke building in the rafters. And you can imagine that 2 or 3 hours' time, this is going to be a smoky, sweaty atmosphere.
Just needs heavy metal, and I'd feel at home.
Mosh pit.
The noise is thunderous. The 3 of you have to yell to be heard. Already, people are waving back notes, giving them to, you imagine must be kind of the local bookkeepers, gamblers. Here and there, scrawny-looking individuals are passing amongst the crowd, and you watch as one of the crowd kind of grabs the scrawny man and whispers something in his ear or shouts it. The scrawny man, takes some back notes and leads the man over to one of these chairs. Sits him down. The man tips his head back, and immediately the scrawny man grabs his nose, and one of the other men puts his hand into a small, sort of the equivalent of a 1930s cooler, pulls something out, and shoves the contents down his throat. And the man sort of strains and kind of, roars a little bit, jumps up, fists clenched, and then he moves back into the crowd and he's kind of banging away, and here and there small scuffles are breaking out. And this keeps happening for probably the next sort of 10-15 minutes. People go sit, and then there's a massive cheer as from down below, up from these stairs, a man is brought up and lowered down the ladder. He moves over to the far end, and wait. A few seconds later, another man comes up. He's also lowered down the ladder. The
Do
ladder.
they look willing? They're not prisoners that are being lowered down. They look willing. Look at me.
These two look willing,
Okay.
but they were definitely escorted by two individuals, like one on each arm.
Yeah.
As
not-
the second man gets to the ladder, one of the two men hands him a machete. And he kind of roars, goes down about 2 rungs on the ladder, and then just kind of throws himself off and lands, turns, yells, and charges. And for the next 5 minutes, you watch something that is not Thai boxing. You watch two feral men beat the living shit out of each other. Very quickly, the first one into the pit disarms the machete, swings, catches the other one across the chest, opens a big hole. That one roars, pummels the other one. Probably has a knuckle duster in a hand as well. Just pummels him in the face, breaks his nose, blood goes everywhere. There's a wrestle. He loses the machete. The other one grabs the machete. Axe almost severs his arm. And blood goes everywhere. He's got this arm kind of loosely dangled, a massive cut. If you were close, you'd be able to see sinew and tendon and bone in that wound. Seems almost oblivious to it as he continues to pummel away. And then the one with the machete just hacks across his leg and then just hacks into his kind of collarbone. And then he falls. And as he falls, he just hacks away at the head. Blood, claret, everything everywhere. And then he stops. He looks up into the sky, raises his blood-soaked hands in triumph and roars to the crowd. The crowd get all excited. Then there's a scream. And you watch as somebody from the crowd, maybe overzealously, maybe not overzealously, maybe was pushed, but goes tumbling over the railing. His shirt snags on the spike, cuts into his back a little bit as he tumbles down. The man in the pit roars, turns, looks straight at him. The spectator that falls in screams, yells, and starts running, but to no avail, as the victor cuts him off with a foul, vicious swipe of the machete across his leg, severing the leg just below the knee. As a spectator collapses screaming, you watch a sadistic smile on the man's face as he just brings the machete down across his neck, almost severing the head with a single blow. The crowd go wild, shouting, chanting. He comes back to the ladder and begins to climb. Well, the ladder's lowered back down and begins to climb up. And as he reaches the top, two of the surly-looking men that escorted him grab him by the arms, kind of pin them together, and very forcefully move him back down the stairs. Can each of you make a stability 3 test, please? Whilst most of you are getting used to seeing people dying and dead bodies, that was blatant, wanton pleasure. Just the whole ferocity and nature. You're all unaffected by it. And over the next 2, 3, 4 hours, you watch a further sort of every half hour something happens in the pit. A couple of times it's dogs that seem to be hyper aggressive, are set loose in there, and they just rip each other to shreds. About the fourth bout in, so you're probably 2 hours in by now. So it's probably getting on for sort of 20 past 8:30 in the evening. You see a couple of these surly men carrying somebody who does not seem willing. And he's taken down into the pit and basically strapped to a table, for want of a better word. And then the two men that brought him down, basically one pulls out a knife, another one pulls out a machete, and they just hack him to pieces. Screams and shouts of terror quickly change to shouts of pain, followed by gurgled blood as he drowns and dies from the pain, the loss of limbs, and the loss of blood. The crowd once again go wild. You notice that there's that kind of ripple in the crowd. There's a sense of excitement, but a sense of violent excitement. More and more people getting this liquid poured down the neck by sitting on the chairs. A few people mixing that with opium, cigarette smoke. It's now very smoky, very dark. The shadows seem to move at the edges of your vision as you kind of glance around. Everybody is kind of entranced, but worked up in a very ecstatic way. Anything you want to do while all this is happening? Don't say jump into the pit and try and kill people.
I'm just looking to the left and to the right at these two.
I'm going to try and put some bets on. I mean, to be fair, the guy I would have bet on in the first fight would have been the one without the machete.
There you go.
Oh, it'd be laying off a few bets. I'm trying to blend in.
Yep.
You're not putting your money on the man that was strapped to the table then?
Oh, he would have won. Yeah.
So, Joseph, about probably 45, 50 minutes in, so you've not got to the point where the man's been blatantly sacrificed on the table, but you've probably got past the first fight, past the first animal fight, probably just about past the second bout between two humans. A couple of things you also notice that sort of half hidden under a cloth or something in the center of the arena, there seems to be a big grate, probably 10 foot by 10 foot. And in between each fight, all the body parts are pushed down the grate. And anything that's too big to go between the gaps are certainly big enough for a foot to fall down there. But anything that's too big, one person will lift up the grate and they'll just push the whole body part down and then close the grate, cover it back over with a cloth and put dust and sawdust and soil and dirt back over it to try and blend it back in.
Said, whilst this is going on, when if I look around, are there any markings on walls or on the side of the pit or anything like that?
No.
No, okay.
No.
So they're not using this as like a
ritual
a focus for this rage or anything like what they do they did in Africa.
Yeah. Pause that. We'll come back to that in a second. I'll answer that question in a second.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a question after that.
Go on, Alfred, your question?
I was going to say, I'm watching the people around, see if anyone's directing anything, giving, specifically female. I want to see if savagery's turned up and I can spot her in here potentially giving orders.
Okay.
But we also need to locate, is it Tharway Uban?
Yeah.
So here's what you. So during each of the fights, there are lots of people yelling things, and it's really weird, right? Because technically this wouldn't work because you can't speak the local language. You wouldn't technically be able to understand what they're saying, but it's a main clue. So this is the problem when Americans write a book and they assume everybody speaks English, right? Whereas that's not technically going to be the case.
Yeah.
You would hear people yelling, "Grind his bones, devour him, mouths be filled, consume him." The other thing you would notice at the end of each of the human on human fights, the victor generally bite and eat a chunk of the victim.
Okay, well, the way we'll get around that is we'll have seen, we'll all have heard them saying these phrases and it being repeated bout on bout.
Yeah.
So we'll have made a note of it, and we'll probably go outside and ask if we actually get out of this alive. We'll ask somebody what this means, because going towards putting levels in this language, Ralph will be making notes on words and things and starting to put his own little dictionary together.
So two things. Both Ralph and Alfred would pick up on the following. Alfred, from your theology background, because you have theology, I believe.
Yep.
Surprisingly enough. And Ralph, more from your Cthulhu mythos background.
Oh, the crazy batshit background. Okay, yeah. Okay.
The celebrants do not overtly, directly appear to be worshipping mouths or anything like you saw in Ethiopia. But what you're seeing is an unconscious byproduct of physical acts. That said, if either of you wish to spend a point in either theology or Cthulhu mythos, you can find out a little bit more information. Alfred.
Spending points in Cthulhu mythos, that's when you go crazy, isn't it?
It can be when you go crazy, yeah.
Okay, just remind me what the rules are for that then.
Wibble.
Do you have anthropology? Yes, you can spend a point in anthropology instead.
That's much better.
That is much better.
I thought if it's one of us that had to, theology was the safer bet.
Um,
I've got theology as well, you see. I can do
You're kind
both.
of communicating to each other with this, you know. Alfred, you go, you sort of, Ralph, you're kind of commenting, you know, writing in your notebook and whispering as best you can to Alfred to get his attention about. It's interesting, you know, that these shouts and these chants, they mean something, but they don't appear to be any signs of direct worship of a deity or an entity like you witnessed in Ethiopia. And Alfred, you start nodding, saying, yeah, I agree. I can see that. Joseph's just passing money around and you know, smoking and drinking from his hip flask, and a little bit oblivious to this. But then, Alfred, you spot something which you kind of tap Ralph on the shoulder and point. The people that seem to be selling this liquid, which, now you think about it, could be nectar. You know, the way people are behaving when they come back, could be nectar. They're showing some outward signs of aggression, but not super aggressive. Certainly not to the level that you're seeing in the pit, and not to the level that Lohman exhibited when he first took the drug. they seem to have much more formalized rites. They definitely seem to be behaving not too dissimilar to the way the believers behaved in Africa.
Does it kind of almost look like a baptism? Where there's a ritual taking them up to a font and putting, the water on their head. They're taking them up to a specific position and sitting them on a chair in a specific way, and then making them neck this thing. Is it that kind of a ritualistic
Initiation.
Very
Yeah.
ritualistic. Yeah. Baptism, maybe.
I'm not saying they only do it once, but do you know what I mean? It's that kind of. It's done in a specific place in a church. This is done a specific way here, and
Correct.
Yeah. Right.
And very much, there are a few repeat users in the evening. If you watch it over the course of 3 or 4 hours, there's probably 1 or 2 repeat users. But it could be an interesting way to get people hooked on this so that they come back for more.
Yeah.
And obviously, there is a lot. The other thing that, Joseph, what you will notice, there is a lot of money exchanging hands.
Indeed.
Tens of thousands of baht, or several $1,000s worth of money, i.e., the size of a fish basket.
A lot of rich people in here.
And with that note, can I spot him?
There is not a lot of rich people in here. Actually, looking around, majority of the people are low income, not even middle class, low, dock workers, just general, and they are spending probably everything that they've earned in the day or the week in here. And yes, Alfred, Joseph, there is a rather large man, a Siamese, tattooed, who has on his belt a huge machete cum cleaver. And what you notice throughout the night is whenever there's a pause in activity, he seems to be the one that sort of gives the nod for the next fight to start, or shakes his head, or intervenes in a fight with the crowd, or directs some of these nectar sellers to a different part of the pit. He seems to have his hands everywhere in terms of activity. People are definitely deferring to him.
And this is not the councillor, is it? This is who
This is
I'm going to
something
assume.
you've not seen. No.
No, I'm going to assume it's Mr. Thurway Iban.
That's what I'm guessing.
He is very heavily tattooed, not too distinct from a Japanese yakuza. The night continues very much in that vein. People do leave. People in the crowd, when they've run out of money, or their high wears off, or it hits 10 o'clock at night and they've got to get home to the missus. People leave, and there always seems to be one of the child runners just the other side of the door to take people back to wherever they want, back to the entrance.
I'll whisper to Alfred and Ralph, do you want to stay longer? See what happens at the end?
It's probably worth seeing if there's, seeing to the end, just in case there's like different stages.
Yeah, as long as we don't become part of that stage.
I'm going to look up and see if there's any like shower heads in the ceiling, blade style.
Definitely not. They haven't been invented yet.
That's all right.
That's what the storm clouds above are for.
Yeah.
This is
There's-
a
there's
ritual
a-
that brings a raging storm and it all comes down in.
In blood.
About 9:30, you've just witnessed what appears to be an unwilling man tossed into the pit against 4 very feral dogs. Somewhere in the audience, you watch a pistol land in the middle. Well, not in the middle, but near him in the pit. And somebody else tosses in a machete or a small knife. Well, probably not a machete, a knife. And you watch as the poor individual frantically tries to survive, but is very quickly he dispatches one of the dogs, but is very quickly brought down by the other 3 and ripped to pieces. As that happens and as that kind of concludes, there are several gunshots and the 3 dogs collapse to the ground, and you notice this Thawi Udom stood sort of over here, really, near the spiral staircase with a rifle in his hand. And then he yells something, and there's kind of he yells, and the place goes quiet. And he speaks again in Siamese or Thai. People cheer and shout, and a couple of people jostle, and a little bit of a fist fight starts not too far away from you. You watch as the burly men by the chairs sort of pick up the boxes, flip open the flaps, and begin to walk off down the stairs. And that seems to be the cue for people to start pushing towards the exit. And you watch as Thawi, perhaps, goes back to that staircase and heads down.
I want to try to speak to somebody. I would say that was awesome. When's the next one?
He kind of pauses and you American crazy. You like what you see?
It was damn good sport. Nature at its best.
Next fight Saturday.
I'm having to hold myself back from pushing him into the actual pit. I'm on about Medi.
I'd like to think that Alpha would know I'm not serious.
Next fight Saturday. Every 3 days.
Every 3 days. Wonderful. Thank you, my good man. And make our way to the exit, I think. Unless... like Ralph says, there's no sort of like symbols or anything around this place. No.
Again, lingering as you are towards the end of the crowd leaving, the body parts, the dead dogs, all get pushed down
that
through
pit.
the grate.
I think the
Might be worth asking. Does what goes down that grate end up in any of the local eateries?
Yeah.
Do we need to avoid them?
Yeah.
You say it's pork? Pork, yeah. I think they're feeding something.
Yeah. Or that's one of the key ingredients in the nectar.
Ooh.
Are you
Yeah, I've
leaving?
got a thicker mind than you.
Are you leaving, or are you lingering even longer.
Jump down the hole in the middle of the room. No.
I think if we've seen everything we can, then it's probably worthwhile getting out while we can.
Yeah.
Are there still people that look like guards around the stairs?
They've mostly gone.
Yeah.
They've all gone.
So they don't feel threatened or anything here.
Well, should we go downstairs?
That's probably not a good idea. This is their base of operations, so to speak. There's going to be a lot of crazy people down there.
There were no women in here, and there were certainly no women participating in the ordering of events.
I think the easiest way to sort this out is to write a letter to the suffragettes, and
Yes.
they'll sort these fuckers out straight away.
Oh, God, yeah. I'll just post it on Facebook.
They're far more militant than I am. I'm sorry.
See, we're not going to. How the hell are we going to find savagery if they don't have women here at all? Unless Saturday they have women.
Don't forget that Loman was...
It's Saturday ladies' night. Is that what it is?
Could be.
Yeah,
No, it is now.
Hendu's welcome. So Loman was the intermediary, so Savagery never really had to come here because he dealt with all this with...
The impression I'm getting is that... what's his name? Thoui is basically selling, manufacturing the money that they get from this, then goes to Loman, he pays off the debt or the government official with whatever's made from here, or the basket worth of money type thing, as the bribe. So she probably doesn't need to be involved.
But there was some more money than
I'm
what...
sure he said she attended, though.
There's got to be a
when we were
cut.
talking to him.
Yeah.
There's got to be a cut that goes to her, though. It's not all for him to pay off the official. Otherwise, where's your profit?
Looking around the actual room itself, are there any other things like areas where somebody could watch from a concealed area?
Oh, is there a balcony?
That type of thing, balcony or arrow slit type things where someone could sit there and watch without being seen.
No.
Okay.
It is just a straight up warehouse with a staircase, a stone spiral staircase heading down below.
And a murder death room.
Okay, if we look straight up, you said there was an open roof.
Yeah.
Can I see the position of the moon and the stars?
Mm-hmm.
Can I take a mental note of the position of the moon and the stars? Because then when we get out, I want to look what the position of the moon and the stars is to try and see which direction we were.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to look when we get guided back. We were walking on some rooftops, look around there, see if there's any viewpoints or landmarks.
We'll be able to get, and we'll be able to get sort of like from there when we're out on the rooftop as well. Again, take that position, and then we'll be able to. You'll be able to look for marks. I'll be able to work out which direction we've gone.
Can I set a small fire that burns this place down so when we get out there we can see the
We know where it is.
Yeah.
So, with a 1-point architecture spin, you will be able to find your way back under your own spin.
Oh, I have one of those.
I was going to say, I don't have that skill.
Yeah, don't.
Oh, you architectural pal.
So by the time you get back outside, between you, you give Ralph enough hints and comments so that he is confident that he would be able to enter any part of this area and get himself to there.
I'm very intrigued to know what's below this building.
Me too, but I'd rather not go down the stairs.
Mm.
I've got a feeling.
Might be able to look at the plans though.
Yeah, good call.
May also be a sewer network.
Mm.
Do you want me to spend a point of architecture to assist?
If you want to spend it, you can do. You don't need to. He's made to spend, so it's all good in that sense.
I would do it anyway.
Okay. Okay. It's now about 10 p.m.
Let's go have a few stiff whiskies, I think, back at the hotel.
You do smell a little bit of sweat and smoke and cigarette smoke and a little bit of opium smell on you. Yeah. You're a little bit dirty, shall we say.
Maybe go in the back door of the hotel because it's a nice hotel.
Yeah, it is a nice hotel.
But you head back to the hotel, change, freshen up.
Then go downstairs for nightcaps.
Yeah.
And then
Hit the rather posh ballroom bar before it closes.
Indeed.
And Ralph will definitely be partaking in an alcoholic beverage tonight.
Yeah.
After that.
There's some grisly things in war, but not like that.
No.
That was calculated.
I think Ralph was okay with it and made it because of what he's been reading. He's so he's kind of a bit desensitized to it at the moment, but he's well aware of what it was.
Joseph has seen big backroom fights before, but nothing to that extent. But then again, he put off that false bravado just to maintain the act.
Oh.
But he's definitely having a drink tonight.
And I've seen grisly sites with explosions going off on people blown up from the war. So I'd have seen being a bit desensitized to that side, but not actually getting it.
Yeah,
it's a soldier side.
Yeah, it's different, isn't it? Because that's injury during war, and that happens. It's like injury in a car accident. But when you see it happening purposely, done by human to human, that's the horror side of it. Yeah.
Do you know what Joseph would have had flashbacks to? That man putting his hand up that woman's shirt and having his hands, and people just acting to that. Or reacting.
And also that weekend when you did that hunting of hobos rally.
That doesn't matter. The hobos. Oh my God! Get over it.
Yeah, you've got to understand. How are we still sane?
What happens in Hobo Ranch stays in Hobo Ranch.
You're still sane because you're making your sanity checks at the moment.
Yeah. That's it. Spending stability wisely.
So, let's roll into Thursday. What do you wish to do?
I think
probably drink all day. For this.
I'd still like to maintain the facade of going to that cafe and next to Loman's place and just seeing if he's been there. Knock on the door.
Is there like a town hall with public records of like a map of the city and records of buildings and things like that? That I can.
the government buildings for each of the districts inside the city that will
Okay.
have those kind of things in it. Yeah.
Well, I want to try and find out, like get a layout of that district,
Okay.
and then try and figure out what building it is and see whether there are any records of what that building is, or the buildings around it.
Okay.
I will go with you because I think this might involve a bribe.
Yeah, because it may have registry and who owns it.
The
Mhm.
distance that we went from the honey, the honey shop, were we still in the same district, or did we pass into another district from the distance?
As far as you know, no, you do know. You were still in the same district, but
Right.
you were in the tangle of tiny alleyways and back streets and clustered buildings beyond it. It was at the edge of that,
Right.
kind
Okay.
of like beyond it.
I can't imagine it being like a 30-minute walk or hour walk because otherwise it'd be like if you arrive late, you're buggered.
Yeah, but we didn't know where the honey shop is in relation to the border of the district. Could have passed over quite easily.
Probably next door or something, and we just walked 30
Round
minutes,
a circle.
300 yards that way, 200 yards that way, and 300 yards back.
Yeah, it was directly under the honey shop.
Yeah.
If I let me check, left, right, left, straight, right, right.
You go to the district offices. It turns out it's the same district office that you watched Loman pay somebody off in the
Okay.
Makes sense.
in that car park.
Mr. Pilo Batus. Batos, what his name is.
Joseph does indeed have to lay out a little bit of cash. The good thing is, $2 or $3 here goes a long way. $10 is a huge tip.
Well, Joseph gives him 70.
Hang on.
The warehouse that you believe is just listed as a meat packing facility.
That's worrying. Especially if it does have that side of the business as well, of where those parts go. Don't buy any sausages.
Taste that chicken.
Yeah, it's a pie making factory next door.
What, next to the barbers?
It is owned by. Give me a library spend, please.
Just one, or do I choose? I'll spend 2 if need be. I'll spend 2 to try and get as much as I can.
So, for free, it's a meat packing facility. It's odd because its location, you find a couple of maps, one from 20 years ago and a more current map. The more current map is less accurate because it seems that the meatpacking factory or warehouse is now in the midst of the labyrinth. 25, 30 years ago, it wasn't. It seems that it was owned at the time by Kruk Industries. That's Kruk Industries. As far as you can tell, the building is still owned by Kruk Industries, but has not been registered as a place of business for the last 10 years.
Is there like a registration for that business that I can find? See who the owner of the actual industry, Coke Industries is. I'm not sure whether it goes to that. It'd be a different department, but
Yeah. Coke Industries is owned by. Give me a second.
what I'll also do is I'll look up other warehouse businesses and warehouse properties around the city. Get their details. So I'll hide this amongst other requests. Okay, so they don't know I'm looking for specifically for this. So I'll look for other warehouse properties, other who own, and then follow it through. So it's amongst 5 requests for warehouse properties and this as well. And if asked, we'll just say we're looking at investing in the city if possible.
Good call.
Okay. It is Coke Industries is registered to a Faxin Sirican.
Faxin Sirican.
Yeah.
Does that sound like a Thai name or?
Spelled exactly the same as Savitri Sirican.
Do Coke Industries own? Are they registered with any other properties in Bangkok or in and around Bangkok following that?
There's a warehouse registered to Coke Industries in the docks. There are a couple of other buildings.
Any residential?
No. But there's an oddity.
I'll also be doing this for the other ones as well. I won't just be looking at Coke Industries. I'll look at because I'm looking for their warehouse, but they may own other properties we want to invest in, that kind of thing.
We're going to be spending about 4 or so 5 hours.
I'm fine with that. It's my job.
Yeah. I'll help with library use if needed.
I'll help with bribes.
Give me a sec. I just need to throw something together. There is a so there's something that's odd. The documents that you're reading is more about you're digging into trying to understand Bangkok as a place and what is the districts, to try and figure out where does the dock district sit to where you are to where this warehouse is, blah blah blah. That's odd. There's an island called Ko Kruk Island. Sits about 20 miles or so off Bangkok Harbour.
Well, I'm guessing that's where Savitri can be found.
I've been expecting you, Mr. Ralph.
Yeah, and I've got a sub.
What does worry me is the fact that it's an island in Seven Valley.
Yeah, I did pick up on that a bit as well.
Yeah.
It seems that the island is registered to Thaxin Sirican.
Bada bing, bada boom. There you go.
Is it a big island?
Tiny island.
That's what I want to hear. Less people on it.
But also harder to approach from a dark side.
As far as you can tell,
Yeah.
it's been with the Sirican clan for generations, originally bestowed to them in a royal grant by Rama III in 1827. Its current governor, legally speaking, is somebody known as Kongdek Sirican. And digging into that thread, there are over 24 Siricans registered and listing Kokruk as their place of residence.
Ooh.
And digging a little bit further, you can find that.
There's some
Here we
chick
go. There she is.
bang in the middle.
Middle and bottom, yeah. Makes it easy.
The island is about half a mile long, covered in low tropical growth, 130 feet tall at its highest point. No known village or settlement.
It'll be underground like everything else these people like.
And I believe, let me just double check, you'll find one more piece of information. That's a PDF. 1 second.
Let's hope that Thaxin Sirican isn't the same as the first one. Because if he's come back from the dead, then that's something even scarier. Oh, and I know. Yeah.
And then the other thing that you find is what appears to be a reference to the Kokruk clan district Pattaya region and a census document.
So that looks like they've covered the costs of a lot of workers. Such a small island kind of points to an underground plant of some shape or form, and I'm getting a very big Enter the Dragon vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or is it Thunderbolt? No.
Doctor, no?
Doctor, no, thank you.
Well, gentlemen, I think we're going to call it there. You have 2 possible avenues of exploration. I think I've crashed, haven't I?
No?
No.
My image looks.
Oh yeah, your image has crashed. Yeah, you have.
your
now.
image has.
Yeah.
You're still talking.
Yeah, you look at the paper going, what the fuck have I done there?
Yeah, I know. I think that's what we're going to call it the night. You've got 2 possible avenues of exploration. Part of me absolutely wants to trigger Joseph or Alfred's.
Go to the island.
No.
No.
Go
Okay.
Fight Club.
here. But I'm
We would-
I'm not going to do it this time. I'm going to give you the choice. You can decide to go to the pit or try and examine the go to the island. Your choice.
Well, so far the island looks like it's got maybe 120-ish people. The pits, we ain't got a clue.
We do need to see where those bodies are going.
And the
we-
pit would not be going in while there's a fight thing going on, because I'm not jumping into that pit. It would
But-
be...
So we've got to ask is, does doing one rule out the other?
I don't think so, because the island would. We did the island first. That may cancel out the pit.
Yeah, because Savitry's one of the inner circle that we need to eliminate.
Or interrogate.
Both, for obvious reasons, have important clues.
Yeah.
And both could go horribly wrong.
Both
So
absolutely go horribly wrong.
yeah,
Yeah, both of them we need a small army.
I'll be able to stealth.
Yeah, the island.
I've got 26 points to spend. So
Yeah.
Yeah, most of my stealth points have gone from chasing after Loman, even though it was days ago.
You've still
God,
got more
yes.
points in stealth and boost your pool up.
I haven't got any points left. Well, I've got points today to spend. But I've only got 3 points left in stealth.
I think as a session that was about as successful as it could have been.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think.
I don't think we missed anything else at that point.
No, I think we've managed to find. I think going into it, I think if we'd have finding out where the island was, where Savitry was, getting into the fights, I think that was pretty much all we could have got out of it, or initially wanted out of it.
Yeah, the only other thing that you could have done tonight was to go down the stairs when everybody had left.
Oh, we absolutely shit it though. So yeah, there was no
Yeah.
chance.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we've just seen stuff we'd never seen before.
But
Yeah,
you
the
have.
scene of the violence. The
I
violence
will
going on.
remind you that by not going into Trammell's house, you missed so much information.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, yeah.
So, whilst I appreciate caution,
Yeah.
don't make the same mistake.
Yeah.
Here.
Well, we planned on going back to Trammell. We just keep getting sidetracked by other things that we find out.
Yeah.
So we've never gone back there.
So I do think we should go back here when it's daytime. And maybe go down
Probably, yeah.
to the great, yeah.
Since I think
Or what?
2 of you have got architecture between you and a spend each, which you have already done, you will be able to find other ways to get through the labyrinth to the pit without necessarily having to go back through the honey shop.
I'd be more interested in the sewer system around it as well.
Yeah.
Because they're dropping stuff down a hole, it's got to go somewhere. Unless there's something
yeah.
under there eating it.
Yeah, there is reference to sewers, but they're very bad plans.
Let's spend tonight's skill points before I leave, so I don't forget next week.
I think I might spend a point in language, to start picking up the this language at a low level, and then I'll probably put some points. I'll probably put thinking about where the other sites are. I think we've heard tale of Mexico, and I'll have to have a think. There was a couple of other countries.
Yeah, there was.
I may start looking at some of those languages as well.
Mexico and Malta.
Malta, yeah.
Do you not speak Spanish already?
I don't think you do you?
I don't know. No.
I do.
I'm more European than. I speak Latin, which may have a root in it, but
Yeah, I've got no language skills at all.
Yeah, I have French and Spanish.
Gentlemen, we'll leave it there. Only because either one of those two locations is the big location, and I don't want to just start it a little bit of it, and we end up having to stop as something's happening.
Yeah, makes sense.
You know, stuff's going to happen. But no, I think that was, as you say, that was a very successful evening. You got a lot of clues tonight. You just, again, you're still missing some of the big pieces of the puzzle, but you've got bits of the puzzle. So